Well, welcome. Here we are for another session. And we are so thankful that you are joining with us. We are here to deal with our March session. And Anquinette and I are excited about it because it's an opportunity to share in an area that's very much needed. And so we appreciate you being with us during this evening. About 25, 30 minutes.
At least.
Yeah. And we're going to deal with money management in a blended family. The areas that we talk about can be helpful to any family, but there are some unique things about the blended family we're going to highlight. So if you're not a blended family, you can still listen. Also, if you're considering marriage, this would also be for you. There's something that would be in there, as well as those that have been married, whether it's a few years or been married for a lot of years.
Many years, yes.
Well, for those that don't know us, I'm Dr. Otis Miller. I'm associate pastor of Russian Springs Baptist Church. I'm a retired aquatic animal health veterinarian. And this beautiful woman I have sitting next to me is my lovely wife, Anquinette. She's an RN and a diplomat specializing in ophthalmic surgery, which I'm very proud of. We make a statement about the number of years of marital experience, and we say we've been combined of 76 years. Since people will say, well, how can you be married 76 years? Well, combined marriage experience is what we were saying. So I was married 37 years to Talina Daniel Miller, and we've had 3 sons, Isaac, Joshua, and Joseph. And Talina's in heaven. And so this has been about 9 years now. So I've been married to Anquinette about 6 years now. Yeah. All right. And you can tell them your half.
Well, as he said, I'm Anquinette. I have experienced all of it, I think, every level of it. I was married 21 years. Then I was a single parent for 10. Then I married again, and I became a widow after 14 years. And now I got to say the best for last. I say that, But we've been married, as he says, 6 years. So if you combine all the marital years that I have to what he has, you'll come out with the 76 years of marital experience.
Yeah. And so I agree, God has put us together.
Yes, he has.
And he's using us to address issues that alone, neither one of us could really deal with.
Right.
But together, as you heard, we can deal with long-term spouse marriages, remarriage. We can deal with the death of a spouse. Both have had that, divorce.
Yes.
And single spouse parenting. So remarried and blended families, they do have a significant challenge to overcome. And so when we talk about handling finances, this is one of the major challenges that you would face almost on a daily basis.
Yes, unfortunately, that is the wedge that sometimes break up the families.
Yeah, they say about of the 50% of marriages that do fail, of that 50%, the majority of those related to some form of finance.
It's sad. That's almost the subject that most people do not want to address.
Yeah.
And it is actually number one of the top ranking topics that should be discussed before marriage. And keep it a discussion open all during the marriage. So
we're going to recommend 2 things in this short time that we'll be with you this evening. Discuss financial situations, as you said, before marriage rather than after. And number 2,
plan, save, and control your finances. Develop a written plan, budget. Most people don't like doing that.
I like that word.
And then save and control those finances by developing a written plan. Again, a budget for spending and saving, and stick to it. Not just write it down, but stick to the plan.
Yeah. And so we're going to go back to the slides, and we'll start that series with this discussion. So where can you find us at? In several locations. The one we prefer is the Enjoying Your Journey, Marriage is Our Ministry. And that's the Facebook address below. You can pause and take that and join us there. We like that one the most because all of our videos are there.
Yes.
But we also have another location that we'll let you know in a few minutes. Also an Instagram, and that's the address there, and Twitter. Also, we went to YouTube channel. All of the videos are there as well for people that don't have Facebook. And we are using these two books as resources. I highly recommend both of those. That we're going to be using information from this to help address this class. So one of the things we pulled from the book that I think is helpful, and let's join our audience over here, and they can see us, is how do you view money? And there's different ways it can be viewed. And so let's go with those 4 steps. I'll take number 1.
Okay.
Some people view it as a status. They're interested in money as a means of power and keeping ahead of their peers. Another one?
The other one could be security. That you're very conservative in spending and you focus on saving.
Yeah. And then, of course, if you're just doing it for enjoyment, it's the satisfaction from spending either on yourself or on other people.
Yes. And the sad one is as a controlling tool.
Yeah.
It looks to maintain control over their life and their independence from others. So that's definitely not a viable option in a marriage.
And a couple can have incompatible attitudes and values about money and how it will show up in their purchases. And these purchases cause conflict between them because of the very values and attitudes they have about it.
And this is what you said earlier. You establish these patterns before marriage, and you don't really have to deal with them as much in a marriage.
Very true. Very true. So we're going to give you an opportunity to find out what your status areas is or what value system that you have with this question. And I suggest you pause it. I'll go through how to work it. It's pretty simple. I took the first one, number 1, look up to those people who have been very successful financially. It's asking, how do you view this question? Do you strongly disagree with that question? Do you agree with it? Or are you undecided? Or you agree? And there's strongly agree is where our picture is, so you can't see it right now. But each one has a score from 1 to 5. So whichever one you agree with, then mark that area and put it here or here. So if I said I strongly agree, I'll put a 5 right here. Then you go through answering each one of how you feel about it based on from these 5 categories and put the number for each one. When you finish all of them, there's a status of showing how you would rate it. So the first 4, you'd add those up, put that score there, and based on what your value was, you're either very high, moderate, or low. And so you would do this for status, you do this for the 5 to 8, will show your security. The questions 9 through 12, it shows whether your enjoyment, and then control will be 13 to 16. So this would be helpful so you and your spouse will begin to see where your value system is. And it matters a lot, and you can read some of the additional language here to show how it can affect someone's heart. Because in Barbara's case, she had there was no issue about money, but he was so controlling with the money that it became a heart problem.
Right. You failed to communicate at that point because you're pulling, it's a tug of war. He's controlling and she's probably a little lackadaisical about it.
So hopefully this will be helpful to you to find out what your status is. Now, you also have to create a spending and a savings plan. And to do that, then you need to look at how much you spend per purchase by month, by year. And we're going to show you a way that you can do that in a few minutes as well. Okay.
And you can specifically, you're seeing how much you can save. That's a good factor there in a specific time period. So you want to work on that.
You know, I don't know how our audience is, but do you have $1,000 saved already? Because that's the first goal that we ask you. Should at least, if you don't, that should be one of your periods of time and specific time to earn in savings $1,000 to start with. Hopefully most of the people that's on the call have already done that.
Yeah.
And if you have, then the next step would be saving for enough funds, what we call an emergency fund. That would be if you have to be in transition between jobs, then you have enough income that you won't be destitute until you get the next job. And so you would add up, they say 3 months, but at minimum, at least 2 months of income that you would save based on what you're currently earning, and have that as an emergency fund. And the last one?
So know each other's financial status before marriage.
Well, I love this page right here because we do this in premarital counseling. And I love it because very seldom does a couple that's engaged do this. And they have no idea what they're getting into with the financial status of that other person.
It's very important that you address these issues. And that is the subject. Nobody wants to see that, feel, a little uncomfortable.
Sharing, yeah.
Right. If you've been independent for a while and you've saved up quite a bit of money, it's hard to say, hey, I got this little nest egg over here. But it really is the key to having a good sound.
And I would suggest you wouldn't start with the savings.
Right.
But start with the debts.
Exactly.
So you'll know what you're inheriting, what you're inheriting his or her bills. And so I'm not going to go through each one. It's pretty self-explanatory, but the guy would list what he owes and what he's paying. And there's the items right there, from car down to child support. Yeah, child support. Yeah. You might not even have known about it without this chart. Right. And then you would do the same thing.
Yeah, the worst thing you can experience is, oh, I forgot about that. Oh, I forgot about that. But just
like, where's the money going?
Right.
Well, I had this. Yeah. And so I can't get the money to our family because now I got to give it to. Yeah. So really, this is a very helpful situation that if you use this, I think it would really, at least your eyes would be open of what your financial situation is prior to saying I do.
Right.
Okay, so you have to find a system that works best for you. I'm going to give you 3. The most common one is what we call a one bucket. That means that there's a joint ownership, and I prefer this one for first-time married couples. Yeah, they're married and they have a joint ownership of all their financial accounts, and that to me, from experience, works well with a first-time marriage.
Divides money into his and hers. That's 2 buckets.
Some people like that. This is the one we prefer. Works well with families been independent, or you've been divorced for a long time, or you've been a widow or a widower for a while. Then you can have your accounts can be shared, but you also can have separate accounts. So you have a his or her and a their. So our their account is what we're sharing, and then we also have our own accounts. And that actually works quite well.
I think it does too. You've got something that you share, and some money is there at all times when we needed to do things together, and when we have things that maybe he wants to do for his children, or I want to do for my children or my mother's. You have another bucket that you don't feel like you're taking anything out of your household to take care of these other issues that may come up.
Yeah, and usually in this situation, both people are employed. Both of them have income coming in. And so you can see why this works well in a situation. It'd be different if it was probably just one source of income from one person, which also normally works well with that first one. But
I suggest you to take care of your home first before you start spreading it out to others.
And the key here, regardless of which one of these systems you use, you both ought to be in agreement about what you use. There shouldn't be a problem about that. So go for the agreement first as opposed to the system, and you shouldn't have a problem with it. Well, credit cards have been a detriment to many families.
Not getting any better with the interest rates either.
And we don't get a lot of training on that. I remember in our college, the training we got was how to fill out the application. That's really not the training you need. There's a lot of things they never tell you that they don't want you to know that actually would hurt you.
that the cards is creeping up each day on interest, and so you're owing 3 and 4 times the amount that you borrow.
And we're going to get into that. But first thing is just how many do you have? And I'm not going to really say a number, though I would like to, but it'll be addressed as we go through as far as how many you have. And one of the things about how many you have is the type of cars that you have.
Right.
Because they serve different purposes. I have one card that I like to earn flyer miles with. So I use that to earn miles to fly and so forth. I have another card that may use for another purpose and so forth. But the key is not so many as the cards you have, but it's how does that card work? And that's usually what you don't know. If you are late for a payment,
yes,
sometimes they'll charge $30 for that. And sometimes they offer a low rate, but if you're late one time, it jumps up to a high rate.
Exactly.
Yeah. And some of them are on variable interest rates. And some of them, instead of 30 days for you to pay it, some of them have sneaky things where it'll be 15 days and you're thinking it's going to be 30 and now you're late and you didn't even realize you were late. So you really need to, if this is a place to read the fine print, this is it. And I don't know if I've got this on here, Anquinella. Yes. This is how you determine how many cards you're gonna have. And this is my statement that I say for the seminars. If you, I don't care how many cards you have, but you got to pay them all off at the time of the end of that cycle. If you can do that, fine. Now that means you can't have that many cards, but you should be able to pay off whatever that balance is for that card when that payment statement comes in. If you can't do that, then you need to not have that card, because that's how we get in trouble. That interest rate, if you pay the minimum payment that they tell you, you'll never pay it off.
And that's what you think too. There's no need to have 3 and 4 different cards that do the same thing. You know, if you got, for instance, a Belk or Macy's card, whatever, how many of those do you need? You can get one card and that will take care of all of those department stores you like to visit, rather than having one for every store you go into. Absolutely. So you know, we'll give you some things that work at, but just pick one for now to resolve it. Just pick one issue. Brainstorm solutions. Think of how you can, if you get in debt together, you got to get out of debt together. So brainstorm, figure out ways that you can cut back or trim the fat in some other areas, but think about a solution to those problems and not keep giving your money away to these credit card companies. Exactly. And then decide what each of you will do to make it work, because it's going to have to be a joint effort for this to work. One can't say, I'm going to save, and the other say, well, I'm going to spend. That'll work. That's nightmare. So what are you going to do together to make the thing work? Well, one of the things you can do here, we recommend these 2 books. These are the seminars that we would teach over a 13-week period. The first one is How to Manage Your Money. That's the spiritual aspects of why you do what you do. And then the number crunching and the budgets and stuff is the financial workbook. If you have questions, then this is our email address that you can send those to us, and we will respond back to any questions you may have for us. We want to close in a prayer that we hope that will be a blessing to you. It's definitely been a blessing to us. And so we'd like for you to share and say this prayer with us as well. Here we go. Father, I surrender all of me to you right now. I put you first from now on and choose to find my life, my happiness in Jesus alone. Fill me with your Son, Jesus, in such a powerful way that I can handle my finances the way you created me to do. In the power and character of the name of Jesus, I pray. Amen. Well, again, this is Otis and Anquinella, and we are definitely enjoying the journey. And we want you to do the same thing. See you next month. It'll be the 4th Thursday in the month, same time, 6:30. God bless you. All right. Bye-bye. Good night.